The Book of Destiny. Translation of Kitab-ul-Taqdeer. Author: Ghulam Ahmed Parwez. Translated by Dr. Ejaz Rasool. Glasgow, UK. ISBN number 9798884207042. 4 Chapter 4 The Law of Requital, Makafati Amal. It has been stated earlier that the law of cause and effect is functioning as a fundamental principle in the physical universe. Together with this, the other fundamental principle is the law of uniformity of nature. From this it means that the law of cause and effect remains functioning uniformly in the whole of the universe. A cause which under certain circumstances produces one effect at one place and at one time, whenever and wherever those circumstances will exist in the universe, then that cause will produce the same effect. In the human world this law is known as the universal law of requital. 41 Two states of human life. Human life has two states. One is physical life, like other things of the universe, in which the same laws are applicable to man which apply to other animals. Birth of a human child takes place like the offspring of other animals. The life and nourishment of a human being is also indebted to those elements and environment on which the life and nourishment of most animals is dependent: eating, drinking, sleeping, walking, health, disease, the process of reproduction, death, etc. All occur according to physical laws. So much so, that man is also the holder of those basic traits which in the case of animals are called instinct, that is, instinct of self-preservation, aggression, readiness to attack, and reproduction. These emotions are termed basic instincts and are commonly found equally in animals and human beings. 4.2 The human self. But there is also another level of human life which is higher and loftier than animalistic or physical life. The holder of this life is not the human body, rather another entity which is called the human self or nafs, human personality. Human self is not under the obedience of physical laws but is also not outside the confines of laws. For this there is another code of laws which is called the permanent values. Honesty, trustworthiness, truthfulness, distinction between legitimate and illegitimate, differentiation between haq and batil, etc. are related to these very values. The reflection of these values in human deeds is what is called character. Animals only display behavior. Character is the hallmark of human life. Knowledge about physical laws can be acquired through observation of nature, study, experimentation, etc. But the permanent values are received from the direction of Allah through Wahi and are now preserved in the folds of the Quran. The way in which the outcomes of the physical functioning of man are established according to physical laws. Similarly, the outcomes of his deeds as a human being manifest according to the laws related to the permanent values. This is called the universal law of requital. The distinguishing characteristic of man, which is called his choice and intent, is in reality a characteristic of the human self. By living life in accordance with the permanent values, the growth of the human self takes place, and by going against them, weakness and debilitation appear in it. One of the signs of a developed self is also that the resolve of such a person is firm. This same developed self advances forward after the physical death of the body. This is called the life in the hereafter. From these explanations it is clear that the way in which the effects of the physical functioning of man impact on his physical body. In the same way the effects of those deeds which are related to the permanent values impact on his self, and all these effects are established according to the laws of Allah. 3 types of laws. 3 types of laws function in human life. 1. Physical laws which are related to the physical body of man. 2. Social laws which are called the laws of a government, or the norms and constitutions of a society, and 3. The permanent values, or ethical laws, which are related to the human self. In each of these 3 spheres of life man himself is responsible for his own acts and deeds. and it is this very responsibility of his on the basis of which he is declared accountable for their effects and consequences. In the first two spheres it can happen, and does happen, that an individual even has to face the consequences of such matters for which he himself is not responsible. For example, while walking along a path, some person pushes him into the river and he dies from drowning. Or that bridge on which he was walking suddenly collapses, or for example, due to bad planning and administration, a famine engulfs the land, a flood occurs, or for some reason war breaks out. No single individual is responsible for these matters, but the members of the society will become victims of their consequences. But the third sphere, which is related to the human self, is that in which every individual is responsible for his own deeds, and it is only he who has to face their consequences. The format of these consequences is that the effect of every deed of his, even to the extent of his thoughts, keeps on impacting his self. This is what is called his scroll of deeds. After this introduction, take note that whether these are the collective deeds of man, or those of an individual, the Quran declares man as being responsible for them all. There is no sphere in it where it states that man happens to be a constrained being, and that whatever takes place is according to this taqdeer or kismat of his which is already written down or is predetermined. Man, individually or collectively, makes a decision according to his choice and intent and acts according to this decision, and the outcome of this act is established according to the laws defined by Allah. Predetermined, or already established, or written beforehand, is the law of requital. That is termed divine taqdeer, not the taqdeer of man, as we have already seen. And as far as his kismat is concerned, his kismat or fate are those consequences of his deeds which transpire according to the divine taqdeer, divine laws. Details of these matters will appear in the following lines. 4.31 Your destiny becomes defined by your deeds. 2:202 The Quran has stated the fundamental principle to be that whoever did wrong deeds and his wrongs encompassed him from all directions, these people are denizens of hell, the fields of their hopes will become burned to ashes. 2:81 And those people who accepted Iman and did salih deeds, they will be inhabitants of paradise. 2:82 At another place it is stated that whatever someone does, he receives its full recompense. 2:281 See also 3:24, 3:160, 40:17 But the intention of man is essential in this. Accountability will be of his who performs a deed with the intention of his heart. 2:225 He is not declared to be responsible for that action which someone makes him commit through compulsion. We consider that this one verse is sufficient as evidence for this fact that, according to the Quran, man has been created as a possessor of choice and intent, not as a constrained being. It is stated in Surah Al-An'am, whatever deed an individual does, he is the one who bears the recompense for it. Remember, according to the law of requital of Allah, no bearer of a burden will carry the burden of another. Everyone carries his own burden. 6:164 and is subject to questioning about his own individual responsibilities. This is also reiterated at different places. It is stated in Surah An-Najm, man can only obtain that for which he toils and makes an effort. 53:39 He is deserving of the fruits of his hard work. The establishment of a righteous society is essential so that every individual can receive the recompense of his hard work. 2015 No one's efforts should remain without an outcome. 21:94 So that your efforts can produce their full results. 17:18-21 Just as with individuals, this same law is functioning in the life of nations. Whatever your forefathers did, it was they who reaped its recompense. Whatever you will do, its outcome will appear before you. You will not even be questioned about what they did. 2:134 See also 2:141 This is because the law of requital is that every individual is only responsible for the consequences of those deeds which he does himself. Good deeds have good outcomes, evil deeds have evil outcomes. 2:286. Destructions descend on people due to their own deeds, 2:79. In summary, every individual is pledged at the hands of his own deeds. He has bound himself to his own deeds, 74:38. 4.3.2 What you sow, so shall you reap, 9:82. The meaning of the law of requital is that no deed, right or wrong, of man can remain without establishing its outcome. Since this is our daily observation in the physical world and in the physical life of man himself, hence there is no confusion in this, nor any doubt or suspicion. Whoever puts his finger into fire, his finger gets burnt, whoever drinks water, his thirst is quenched. But in the case of the permanent values, since the outcomes of human deeds do not appear before us tangibly, this difficulty arises in understanding whether their consequences are actually becoming established or not. Hunger is removed by eating bread, every individual knows this. But this fact that the human self is ruined by haram rizq, bread obtained through dishonesty or theft, is difficult to grasp. Since the mechanistic concept of life does not even acknowledge the existence of the human self, it also does not acknowledge the outcomes of the permanent values. It only acknowledges those laws which society recognizes and implements, and the consequences of disobedience to which can appear before us through the justice system of the society. Regarding those deeds which remain hidden from the eyes of society, or those matters which are not even crimes according to the laws of the society, the question of their consequences does not even arise. 4.4 The root cause for the excessive crimes in the world. The fundamental reason that crimes are becoming commonplace in the whole world at this point in time, and epidemics of dishonesty, deceitfulness, plunder and exploitation, fraud and embezzlement, abuse and subjugation spreading like forest wildfires, is that people no longer have any conviction remaining about the human self. In their view, life is only this physical life, but the focal point of the whole teaching of the Quran is Iman in the human self. Hence it has informed us in clear words that no action of man remains unaccounted for, whether it is related to his physical life or to his self. It declares that the system of the universe is busy functioning for this aim, that no deed of man remains without establishing its outcome. Allah created the universe, the heavens and earth, as bil-haq, and for this purpose, that every self gets the precise recompense for his deeds and there is no injustice done to anyone. 45:22. At another place it is stated, whatever is in the highs and lows of the universe, all is busy functioning for the completion of the program of Allah, so that the evil consequences of the deeds of those who adopt an evil path appear before them, and a joyful outcome for those who do good deeds. 53:31. It is stated in Surah Yunus that the creative program of Allah, i.e., bringing the things of the universe into existence for the first time, and then by putting them through various rotations converting them into a new form, is for this purpose, that those people who have conviction in the truth of the permanent values of life and do righteous deeds according to these values, should obtain the recompense for these deeds in accordance with justice and fairness, and that the end of those who reject these and resort to transgression should be destruction. 10:4. It is noted in Surah An-Nisa that, whoever does an evil deed, he will bear its consequence. 4:123. Whatever appears before man, it is the outcome of his own deeds. 9:82. At other places it is stated that every individual will obtain the recompense for what he has done. 34:33. This has been reiterated at various places, for example, 7:127, 52:16, 56:24, 83:36. At another place this reality is presented in these words, Allah does not waste the deed of anyone who performs an action. 3:195. And at another place it is stated, those who live their life in a balanced manner, Allah does not let their recompense go to waste. 12:90. 4.5 The scales for the weighing of deeds. It is in order to make this fundamental principle understood that it is stated that every deed of man has a weight and scales are erected for the weighing of these, in which every atom of a human deed is weighed. 21:47. And on the day of the manifestation of results, we will erect the scales of justice, and in this way no kind of injustice will be done to any individual. Those people whose balance will be heavy with constructive deeds, their lives will be lived in prosperity, those whose balance is light, they will be ruined. 23:102-103. Each and every single atom of every human deed will be weighed on a set of scales. 31:16. Deeds will be weighed and a receipt for the weight will be given into the hands of everyone, so that he can see what his account is. 9:94, 9:105, 10:23. According to this calculation, the one who will have developed his self suitably, his field will bear fruition. The one who kept it suppressed under his base emotions and suffocated it, he will become ruined. 91:9-10. In light of these explanations of the Quran, you can see whether man is declared to be responsible for his own deeds, or does he appear to be such a creation who has no control over any of his acts and he keeps doing whatever has been determined for him, willingly or unwillingly, like a machine. The question of reward and punishment for the deed of the one who is constrained does not even arise. 4.51 Read your own scroll of deeds, 17:14. The reality which is illustrated above through the example of a set of scales is called a scroll of deeds at other places in the Quran. In connection with this it is firstly stated that whatever man says, we write it down. 19:79, see also, 21:94, at another place it is stated that we have appointed guardians and sentinels in front of man and behind him, who keep recording all his deeds. 13:11, 50:18. Another place they are called respected scribes, extremely honorable writers. 82:11. This record is not kept hidden somewhere, it is a Kitab-ul-Mubin, an open and clear book. 10:61. This Kitab-ul-Mubin has not been kept somewhere externally, it is in the heart of man himself. It is noted in Surah Bani Israel that the scroll of deeds of each man is hung around his neck. At this point in time it is rolled up, but at the time of the manifestation of results this will be unrolled, and man will be asked to read his own scroll of deeds himself. Read it yourself, and also evaluate your own account. Sufficient is yourself to make out an account against your own self this day. 17:14. There will also be no need for an external witness for proof in this list of crimes. Man himself will give evidence against his own self, and he will himself repudiate all those false excuses of self-deception which he used to concoct before this in justification of his evil deeds. 75:14-15. This is that record about which it is stated that we have a book which states the truth clearly, it commits no error whatsoever. 23:62. And this is that very book on seeing which the criminal will utter a shriek. 18:49. He will say, in despair and regret he will lament, alas! I wish that I were just a lump of mud, I wish that I were just a lump of mud instead of a conscious being possessing choice and intent so that I could have been saved from this accountability. Accountability is only of man possessing choice and intent, not of figures made of mud. It is clear from these explanations that the outcomes of every deed of man remain preserved, whether these are the thoughts passing through his heart or the deceptions of the eyes. 40:19, and produce their respective consequences according to the law of requital of Allah. The scroll of man's deeds is a parchment in his own hand which he keeps imprinting on the clear slate of his self. He arrives into the world with a clean slate, an empty scroll, and then keeps writing his own taqdeer on it. In the words of Iqbal, write your account now with your quill. The pen of Haqq has kept your countenance free. 4.5.2 Outcomes of deeds are non-transferable. 17:7, when a deed is dependent on the choice and intent of every single individual, then it is obvious that no one else can be included in its outcome either, nor can you transfer its outcome, reward or punishment, to someone else. For example, you can give your earnings, money, to others and according to need can also take it from others. But if you go for a walk every morning and because of this your health improves, you cannot pass your good health on to another, nor can you borrow someone else's health. In the same way, by putting a finger into fire, you cannot transfer the burning pain which you will perceive to someone else, nor can the intercession of anyone relieve you from it, nor can you escape it by giving or donating something to someone. These are those outcomes of deeds which can neither be transferred to anyone, nor can be borrowed from someone. We have used the example of health purely to make it comprehensible, otherwise what is being said is that the effects of human deeds which are imprinted on the self of the concerned individual are not able to be transferred. This is because, as noted above, the deed is dependent on the intent of a person, and when another cannot be included in the intent of an individual, then how can he be included in its consequence? This is called the individuality of the human self. Contrary to this, since the one who is constrained does not even have any personal choice, then how can the outcome of some action of his leave a mark on his self? If we look at it from this viewpoint, then the one who is constrained is also not accountable for or deserving of the outcome of his own deed, leaving aside anyone else being included in this. The Quran has elaborated on this individuality of the human self as a possessor of choice and intent at a number of places. It is stated in Surah Bani Israel, if you do good deeds, then this will benefit your own self, and if you do wrong, then you will bear their loss. The one who does righteous acts, its benefit is to his own self, the one who does destructive acts, its loss also falls to his own self. 41:46. Allah does nor do injustice to his servants. 41:46, see also, 45:15, whoever toils and endeavors, he does it for his own self. 29:6. It is stated in Surah Yunus. O mankind! If you transgress against the laws of Allah, then its loss will be to your own self. 10:23, see also, 4:111, it is stated in Surah Al-An'am. Clear and illuminated paths have appeared in front of you from the direction of your Rabb, hence, whoever treads with open eyes, it will be to his own benefit, and the one who walks with eyes shut like the blind, he will only cause a loss to himself. 6:104. This same theme is reiterated in these words at another place, O mankind! Haqq has arrived to you from the direction of your Rabb, hence, whoever will tread on the right path presented by him, the benefit will be his alone. Whoever adopts another, wrong, path by leaving this path, the loss will be borne by him alone. 10:108, see also, 17:15, 30:44, 31:12, 4.6. This is not a business matter. The other side of this same coin is that those effects of the action of man possessing choice and intent which are imprinted on his self, cannot be erased by anyone else. In other words, no one can intervene whatsoever in the matter of reward and punishment. The Quran has clarified this reality at several places. For example, it is stated in 248, that in the case of the outcomes of deeds, no individual can be of any assistance to another person, nor does the question of intercession arise in this matter, nor can an individual escape by offering or donating something, nor can anyone help another. See also, 2:123. At another place it is stated that the issue of outcomes of deeds is not a business transaction, such that these can be purchased by paying a price, nor can the friendship of someone be of any use in this regard, nor can anyone intercede on someone's behalf. 2:254. And there is no exception in this for anyone. So much so, that even Rasool is told to inform these people that if I, too, go against the laws of Allah, then no one can save me either from the consequences of this. I am also fearful of the law of requital of Allah. 10:15, see also, 6:15. It was in view of this individuality of the human self, i.e., that everyone is accountable for his own deeds, that Rasulullah informed his opponents plainly that there is no need to resort to dispute in this regard. Our deeds are for us, and yours are for you. 2:139. Neither will you be asked what crimes did we commit, nor will we be questioned about what you did. 34:25. The outcomes of your deeds are for you, those of our deeds are for us. 109:6. My deeds are for me, your deeds are for you. You are not responsible for my deeds, nor am I responsible for your deeds. 1041. Only he can be held responsible for the outcomes of his deeds who commits these deeds using his own choice and intent. The one who is coerced into doing something, how can he be held responsible for this? Even Allah does not interfere in this matter, although he keeps watching who is committing what kinds of acts. Allah sees your deeds. 2:237. He is well aware of these. 2:234. No deed of anyone can remain hidden from his eyes. 2:142. To such an extent, that whatever resides in your heart, Allah has knowledge of that. 2:235. The meaning of Allah sees your deeds is that no deed of man can remain out with the grip of the law of requital of Allah. Every deed of man is within its domain. 3:120. This is why no deed of man can remain without producing its effect, and every individual has to face the consequences of his own deeds himself because he is responsible for his own deeds.